Welcome to this Provideam training video. In our previous video, Provideam Report Wizard Basics, we looked at how to create a simple report and how to save and manage report templates. In this video, we are going to take our Provideam reporting ability to the next level. We are going to learn how to filter the data we want to show in the report, as well as to format the appearance of the resulting report data. Although we expect a certain amount of back and forth between the topics, we will cover the material in broadly the order set out here. 1. Filtering data. How do we limit the data in the report to specific date ranges and to specific objects? 2. Field selection and formatting. How do we group and sort the data in the report? And how do we format the field values? 3. Function selection and formatting. How do we apply a custom format to functions? 4. Function conditional formatting. How can we apply conditional formats to functions? 5. Parameterized functions. How can we show the time associated with specific losses? Or how do we show a sum of selected count values? And finally, 6. Report charts. How do we display a chart, and which chart should we select? Okay, so let's get started. In Provideam Reports, we can filter the data by period and by object. When we say period, we mean the date-time range over which we analyze the data. We have seen in the previous tutorial that one of the first steps in the Report Wizard is to choose a period type. You can select an individual shift, a day, or various other predefined ranges. Week to day, month to day, year to day, the last 7 days, the last 30 days, a particular week or month, and of course the customized period. When you run a report, the Report Wizard will prompt you to enter the appropriate value depending on the period type you have chosen. As an example, let's run the My Sample report. Click on the report in the Report Templates table. We had configured this report to be a customized period report. And so we can see we are asked for the start and end date of the customized period. Let's run the report for the current month. And we see we get a record for every day of the month. Now let's modify this report so that the report period is week. Click the Modify button on the report template and edit the configuration as shown in the previous tutorial. Now when we go to run the report, we are asked for the year and the week. The weeks are ISO standard weeks. Run the report and notice that the data is limited to the selected week. So we have seen how to define a date range. But what if we wanted to exclude some dates within the range? Navigate back to the Report Details page and click the Advanced button. Now click Period Exclusions. We have options to exclude selected shifts or days or weeks or months. The selections we make here will be excluded from the report. Let's exclude Mondays and Tuesdays from our report. Run the report and notice that the data for Mondays and Tuesdays is not included. Okay, so we have covered filtering periods. Now let's look at objects. Remember that in Provideam, anything that is not a period is considered to be an object. Objects include areas, machines, parts, etc. In the previous tutorial, we saw how to create a report to include the data for a particular machine by selecting it in the object definition. We can, of course, add multiple machines. Let's create a new production trend report to show the molding data for the last 7 days. Click Add New Report button. Select Production Trend Report. Select the 7-day period type. Select the machines in the molding area. Select the fields, area name and part name. Remember, this will cause our data to be grouped by area name and part name. Select the OEE, good parts and planned operating time functions. Drag and drop the functions on and off the selected functions box as required. Notice we can do a multiple selection of functions using the Shift key. Note that when we hover the mouse over a function, a tooltip appears which tells us the function definition. Now select Table Only and run the report. See, the table shows the area name and the part names. What if we only wanted data for Part 3 and Part 4 to be included in our report? We can arrange this by editing the object definition. Navigate back to the object page. Click the More Details button. By default, all lots, batches, etc. are included in our result data. If we make a selection here, the data in the report will be limited to the selections we make. Check the Part 3 and Part 4 boxes for Molding Machine 1. The same part names for the other machines will be automatically included. Click the Previous button and run the report as before. Now we see the data is limited to Part 3 and Part 4. The next thing I want to discuss is field selection and formatting. We have seen that we can group the data in our table by adding the fields to the table. Let's rerun our molding report, but this time with the year, month, day, date field. And let's check the subtotal box on the part name field. Run the report and see how the data is subtotaled on the part name field. We now have values for each part on each day, but we also have a subtotal for each part for the whole period. If we change the order of the fields and put year, month, day ahead of part name, we will get a different result. Now, the subtotal on part name has no effect as there are no fields to the right of it. But if we instead put a subtotal on the date, we see that we get a subtotal for the parts on each date. We can also apply some formatting to the fields column in the results table. Depending on the column, we can apply various formatting properties. Navigate back to the Fields Setup page, remove the Year, Month, Day field, and add the Standard Time field. Click on the Standard Time field and scroll down to the Format settings. Choose the format type to be decimal and the number of decimal places to be 4. Choose the table color to be yellow. Click Apply Format and notice how the field is now in bold font. This indicates the format properties have been edited for this field. To clear the format properties to default, we simply select the field and click the Clear button. Reapply the format and run the report. Now we see the standard time column has a yellow background and is displayed as a number with 4 places of decimals. Next, let's take a look at functions. A wide selection of pre-canned functions is available. The selection box shows a list of functions appropriate to the type of report. The functions are categorized by the type of function. So we have time functions, yield functions, rate functions, etc. We can see the definition of the function by hovering the mouse over the function. Like with fields, we can apply formatting to functions. Depending on the type of function, the data can be displayed in different ways. Click on the planned operating time function and scroll down to the Format section. Notice that this is recognized as a time function and a number of time formats are available for selection. We can show the value as seconds, minutes, etc. We can also change the type to other number types. For example, we could change it to a count type. The count type is essentially an integer type. Raw time values are stored in seconds, so if we change the type to count, then the display will show seconds. Let's change the type to minutes. And let's change the table color to blue. If the Table Properties Hide checkbox is checked, the function will not be displayed in the table. But it could still be displayed in a chart if we wished. Apply these settings by clicking the Apply Format button. And note that the planned operating time function is now displayed in bold font, indicating that we have applied custom formatting to the function. And remember that we can clear the custom formatting by selecting the function and clicking the Clear button. Let's run this report and see what our planned operating time column looks like. That blue is a little too dark. Let's choose a lighter shade. Now, that's better. In the previous section, you may have noticed that I skipped over the Conditional Formatting menu. We are going to take a look at that now. Click on the OEE function, check the less than condition, set the value to 30 and the color to red. Now, check the greater than condition, set the value to 50 and the color to green. Apply the format and let's see what we get. The records where the OEE value is lower than 30 are in red, and the records where the values are greater than 50 are in green. The in-between values are not colored as we have not set a default color for this function. This is basic conditional formatting. We will cover a more advanced form of conditional formatting in our next video. There is a special type of functions called parameterized functions. These functions allow us to create a measure on a collection of losses or counts. For example, we might want to know the total amount of time taken by a collection of changeover events. Or we might want to know the total quantity of a collection of defects. Let's create a new function to measure the time lost due to the downtime reasons machine problem, material problem, and mold problem. From the Report Wizard, Function Selection and Setup page, click the Parameterized Function button. Click the Add New button. We see a list of functions available. Again, we can use the mouse tooltip to view the definition of each function. Functions with text DESC in the name are configured by selecting the loss descriptions, whereas functions with the text TYPE in the name are configured by selecting the loss type or loss group. Click the loss description time function, enter the name that we want the function to appear as in the report, check the losses we want to include in our function calculation, and click the Save button. Return to the function selection page and note that the parameterized function now appears in the selected functions box. We can apply a custom format to this new function in the normal way. Let's change the format type to time. And when we run the report, we now see a column with the time related to the selected losses displayed. We can make similar parameterized functions for count types. The final item I want to cover in this video is report charts. We have already seen that we have the option of displaying the report data in a table and/or in a chart. The chart options will depend on the report type. Production report data can be displayed in bar, trend, stacked bar, and percentage bar chart format. Bar charts and trend or line charts are the most commonly used. The percentage bar chart totals all KPI values in a table row to 100% and then draws each KPI in proportion. This type of report is used where the KPIs would typically sum to 100%. For example, if we were to draw a report showing the daily uptime and downtime for a machine, each row would amount to the total time, or 100% of the time available. Let's do a quick example with the uptime and downtime functions. And see the report shows the percentage uptime and downtime for each day. The stacked bar chart is similar to the percentage bar chart, but the values are not converted into a percentage. Let's run the same report as a stacked bar chart. Now we see the y-axis shows time, and the current day value is not 24 hours, because the day has not yet finished. This type of chart is useful to display values like good and defect counts, when we want the actual totals, not just the related percentages. Let's change the functions in this report to good parts and defect parts. See how the total counts are displayed on the y-axis. Now let's change this report to a standard bar chart. And see how the KPIs for each record are not stacked. What if we wanted the target to be drawn on the report as a line? First, we would need to add the target function. Let's go back and do that. And now see how it looks. Okay, we see the target as a bar, but we would prefer to see it as a line. By default, all the functions will be displayed as a bar when we choose the bar chart type. However, we can apply a custom format to the target function to ensure it is displayed as a line. On the function selection and setup page, select the target function, scroll down to the format section and down to the graph properties, choose the line style, apply this format, and run the report. Now we have what we want. Note the arrow buttons allow us to regenerate the report for the previous or next period. So if the period is a week, the button will step forward or back 1 week. If we want to display the chart in such a way that it is visible from a distance, we can increase the font size, go to the template page and click the Advanced button, select the graphed font size extra large. Now when we run the report, the font size is considerably larger. If we are working on loss reports, the chart options are bar chart and pie chart. The bar chart is used to display losses in Pareto format. When creating loss reports, we have an extra filter page to limit losses. This page allows us to control the OEE elements that will be included in our report. If we wish to exclude OEE time and planned downtime, then we can uncheck these elements. If we wanted to have more detailed control of the losses we include, we could select individual loss descriptions. Only the elements that have been checked will be included in the final report. To start with, let's draw a loss report with all the OEE elements excluding planned downtime. Let's group the data by the loss description. Note, OEE loss level 1 ID groups the losses by level 1 OEE components, availability, quality, performance. OEE loss level 2 ID, on the other hand, groups the losses by level 2 OEE components, breakdowns, changeovers, quality losses, etc. The Provideam Report Wizard returns 2 tables for loss reports. The first table shows the loss functions. The second table shows standard production functions over the same period. Now run the report as a pie chart, and we see the segments of the pie showing the time associated with the various loss descriptions. See below the loss table where the time is shown for each loss, and below that the production functions calculated for the whole period. By selecting the bar chart option, we get a Pareto. If we only wanted to see the top 5 losses, we would first limit the loss selection to exclude OEE time. And then clicking the Advanced button on the Report Details page, enter the value 5 to limit the losses. Note, setting the value back to 0 disables this limit, and now we see the Pareto showing only the top 5 losses. Well, that brings us to the end of this video. In our next video in this series, we will show advanced reporting features. Thanks for watching. If you have any queries, please contact us. Our email address is support@provideam.com. See you in our next video.